Nitro Rad.
Years following the release of Yume Nikki, it gathered quite a large cult following. It even planted the seed for the RPG Maker horror game community. There's been countless of fan-made sequels to this game, and I mean countless. There are so many of them. Some of which are pretty good, some of which not so much. Nonetheless, there's a handful of Yume Nikki fan games that manage to have a charm of their very own and end up being pretty dang good. Now, to anyone who's familiar with Yume Nikki fan games, the first bunch that probably pop into your head are probably Yume Nikki, Yume Nishi, LCD-DEM, and of course, Dotflow. Being possibly the most well-known Yume Nikki fan game, Dotflow was released in 2009. Like many RPG Maker games, it's seen a varied release history, starting with version 0.03. The latest version as of this video is 0.192. The game has been complete for a long time now, it's just that the more recent updates just patch bugs and add more and more Easter eggs and extra content to find. If you remember in Yume Nikki how there's countless things to find and see, and none of them you really needed to do to beat the game, a lot of the updates just add content like that. It's wonderful to see that the game's creator keeps adding extra content to the game years after its completion. Dotflow was created by a Japanese user named LOL. This is the only picture I know that exists of him on the internet. It seems he's a fan of gas masks, which I guess is something we have in common. The title screen is extremely similar to most RPG Maker games, with your typical three options there: start game, load game, and quit game. As you make your decision, a very morbid version of the Yume Nikki title screen theme plays. I don't think I've ever had a music track make me feel this empty before. Dotflow is about a girl named Sabitsuki, and again, you'll spend the entirety of the game exploring her dreams, finding the 24 effects. This time around, you'll access the dream world via a computer in her room. This game has a much darker atmosphere than Yume Nikki did. While Yume Nikki was about dreams, I guess you could say that Dotflow is about nightmares. Going outside while revealing a normal-looking sky in Yume Nikki will greet you with a pure black sky filled with rusted red shapes. You'll also notice that the building you're in is very decrepit and run down. There's just about as much to do in your room as there was in Yume Nikki. Sabitsuki refuses to leave the room, the TV will turn on just to reveal there's no cable, there's a game system with a mini-game you can play, and it's, again, barely worth mentioning. And then there's the bed and your computer. Instead of using the bed to access the dream world, you'll now use it to save your game. Like stated before, you'll now enter the dream world via the computer beside the bed. Some people theorize that the dream world in this game is some sort of virtual world, or some sort of Sabitsuki's subconscious mind taking form in the net. Kinda like Serial Experiments' Lame's The Wired, if you're familiar with that at all. For the sake of consistency and avoiding confusion in this video, I'll refer to the alternate world as the dream world. Dotflow has a lot of glitchy theming to its art design, and that grows very apparent when you start up the game. You'll be treated to a short scene where Sabitsuki stands alone in the center of the screen as she glitches in and out of existence. Like Yume Nikki, entering the dream world will bring you immediately to the Nexus. Unlike Yume Nikki, there's now only 4 worlds you can access from the Nexus: the Pipes world, Neon world, Mouth and Eyes world, and the Ghost Garden world. With the smaller amount of immediately accessible worlds, it's actually quite a bit easier to navigate your way to a specific part of the game. I find Dotflow to be a lot less confusing to explore than Yume Nikki. Each of the 4 worlds from the Nexus lead to a lot more areas than the ones in Yume Nikki did, since there's a smaller amount of them. I'm pretty sure Dotflow's world map is about the same as Yume Nikki's, though a lot of the screens are quite a bit smaller. Even still, I find there's a lot more things to find in this game than Yume Nikki. Many of the effects you collect serve the exact same purposes as in Yume Nikki. Firstly, there's the obligatory effect that'll increase your movement speed, this time taking on the shape of a witch's broom. I like the broom a lot better than the bike in Yume Nikki because now the sound effect for taking each step is much softer and quieter, making it easier on the ears and a lot less annoying. The other staple effect is the one that'll allow you to kill NPCs. In Dotflow, instead of a knife, it is a rusted pipe that you can use to whack and murder creatures in the dream world. You can also make Sabitsuki change which shoulder she holds it over, much like how you can make Matsuki do the same thing with the knife. Details like that really outline the effort put into the game. Most of the effects outside of these two will change Sabitsuki's appearance, but won't actually be of any use. One exception is the ghost effect. It'll render Sabitsuki invisible, so chasers will not come after you. The chasers in this game are decaying zombie-like school children called Kaibutsu. The name Kaibutsu translates from Japanese literally to monster. I cosplayed as one of these things years ago at a convention, and to no surprise, no one knew who I was. I find these things a lot more intimidating than the Tyranigan. Tall bird people are pretty creepy and all, but the emptied, bloodied, hollow hole of a face these things have are the stuff of nightmares. Like Yume Nikki, there's a lot of awesome fan art of this game, and it's the sole reason I go on Tumblr every now and again, just to see it all. Now, being a Yume Nikki fan game, there's a lot of similarities and callbacks to Yume Nikki. One thing that always seems to be a staple of Yume Nikki fan games is the inclusion of a Famicom world. Just like Yume Nikki, a handful of areas you can access will transform Sabitsuki into an 8-bit sprite while you explore an 8-bit world. It's also possible to find a picture of QQ-kun graffitied on a wall right here. Not only that, but you're also able to find a reference to Uboa scribbled on the walls of some old ruins. Oh, and remember how Yume Nikki was full of references to Earthbound and Mother? Well, why don't you take a listen to the Ruins music in Dotflow? Looks like Dotflow also likes to reference Earthbound here and there. Location-wise, Dotflow actually reminds me a lot of Silent Hill. I mean, there's a school, there's a hospital, there's a bar. Dotflow has some pretty good settings. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself, what does the title Dotflow have to do with dreams? Most fan game titles have something to do with dreams or psychology or something like that. Yume Nikki, after all, translates to Dream Diary. I think it's possible that the name comes from a psychological term called flow, which is a mental state in which the human mind is most concentrated. It's more commonly known as like when someone's in the zone. That state of mind is called flow. The title Dotflow might have come from this, with the dot in front of the title simply meaning like computer, like .com, since Sabitsuki's subconscious is in the computer. This could very well be completely untrue since the game's creator is Japanese, and I kinda doubt he'd know an English term in psychology like that, but who knows? That's just what I think it could have come from. I'm not entirely sure why the game was called that. Sabitsuki's dreams seem to convey a much more literal representation of her past in a matter of both characters and locations. Possibly the most important character in Sabitsuki's dreams is a character named Smile. Similar to Sabitsuki, his appearance gives a very rebellious vibe, like him and Sabitsuki were delinquents in school. Unlike the NPCs in Yume Nikki, you can see Smile in many areas of the game, his house, and multiple places in the school. There's a story between these two characters that's told through events you can trigger. In the school, you can find a depressed-looking Smile surrounded by children, but if you equip the pipe effect, it'll make him happy, but then the children will start to move away from him. The game is full of stuff like this, indirect storytelling, and it is wonderfully done. The other character of importance is called Oriko, a friend of Sabitsuki who wears a diving helmet. Like Smile, you can find her in many areas throughout the game, and you can find things that vaguely tell the story of the relationship between these two. In addition to these characters, there's also a number of areas that will deny you access. Attempting to walk into it will remove your currently equipped effect, show some sort of glitch effect on the screen, and push you back out of the room. A pretty notable one is actually pretty hidden and out of the way, and you'll have to pretty much know how to find it if you want to get to it. Go to the sewers to this area where you see this big green blob thing hugging the wall. To the right of it, you'll see a sewer pipe. Keep entering and exiting it until you see an extra green grate on the wall. Interacting with it will change the color of the big green blob. Then interact with the blob and you'll be sucked through the ground into a secret area. You'll find yourself in a disgusting blood-soaked room with only one way to leave. And of course, this one exit denies you access. Attempting to exit through this door a number of times will result in Sabitsuki falling over and bleeding to death. When I first played this game, these rooms created such a strong suspense for me. It was clear that this room was important, but there was some reason why I wasn't allowed to enter. I wanted to know what sick, twisted things could be inside, and there was no explanation given as to why I couldn't enter. There's also a number of nightmare sequences that you're able to activate, kind of like the Face or Uboa event in Yume Nikki, in both that it forces you to wake up, and it has a randomized, obscure way of accessing it. One of them, and probably my favorite one, is called the Corrupt School event. It requires you to find an entrance in a bloody mouth in the Mouth and Eyes world. There's a small random chance upon entering the dream world that this entrance will even be there. Entering this mouth will bring you to a room where you'll be chased by Kaibutsu. Running away will trigger an insanely fast Kaibutsu that will catch you no matter what. The only way to bypass this guy is by equipping the ghost effect. Not being able to see you, he will not chase after you, making you able to get your way to the school. This is actually an alternate version of the school that you normally cannot enter. Going in here will instantly render you unable to use any of your effects. From here on, Kaibutsu will start exiting all of the classrooms and coming after you, which is something that normally does not happen when you enter the school. If you can stay away from them long enough to get to the school's basement, you'll meet up with a deranged Smile. Suddenly, you will have the pipe equipped. If you attack Smile with a pipe, he will hit you back, killing you, making you wake up from the dream. Triggering these long nightmare sequences will take a toll on Sabitsuki's mental state, and add to the erosion counter. The higher this value, the more bloodstains you'll find in Sabitsuki's room. There's also a handful of other things that are affected in the dream world, like how much Sabitsuki's child self has decayed in the dream hospital. Triggering any nightmare sequence will increase the erosion counter. Getting caught by Kaibutsu will also sometimes increase it. If you make the erosion counter go up too much, two tube-like objects will appear in Sabitsuki's room by her computer. It's theorized that this is some sort of life support device to sustain Sabitsuki, as she's now taken so much mental damage, she has literally had her mind corrode. After you collect all of the effects, you're able to leave the room and view the ending. The ending is pretty much identical to the ending of Yume Nikki. However, this is not the real ending. There's still much more to see in this game. So, you go to your computer and drop off all of the effects. Then exit the room and you'll see a little bit more of the ending. Still, it's not the real ending, but it does demonstrate that there's more to the ending than originally meets the eye. There's still much more to the game to get the full ending. After dropping off all of the effects, you'll now be able to enter a second dream world, this time not as Sabitsuki, but a deeper form of her subconscious called Rust. In the Rust version of the dream world, everything is nearly unchanged. However, there are now an additional chaser that takes the form of some sort of armless demon. Touching these won't bring you to a solitary confinement that's unescapable, but instead will make Sabitsuki take damage with every touch. If you take too much damage from these things, Sabitsuki will literally rot to death. It's honestly a little unsettling to watch. As Rust, you won't be able to use any effects, but you can now access those areas I mentioned before that previously denied you access. These areas contain the deepest, darkest, most disturbed memories and thoughts in Sabitsuki's subconscious, which is why you can only enter them as Rust. In these three areas, you'll have to find an object that'll make an empty text box appear. People regard to these as the empty box items. After getting the three text boxes, return to the bedroom in the dream world to see the computer replaced with an elevator. This will take you to a hallway of pure madness that only gets more and more corroded, bloody, and decrepit as you advance. Not only will the hallway degrade, but Sabitsuki herself will as well. It's like a descent into insanity that results in self-destruction, destroying your own subconscious. Once you trigger the final event, Sabitsuki will wake up, and you will be able to trigger the final ending. It's theorized that Sabitsuki is locked in her room because she's a patient who's turning into a Kaibutsu. I guess you could say if Dotflow had to have a theme, it would be corrosion, degrading, rotting. It's about a girl whose mind is so tainted it's literally rotting inside of her skull, and the more mad she becomes, the more volatile she also becomes, not just to others, but mostly to herself. Dotflow will make you feel very uncomfortable. There's a lot of elements of extremely good visual horror. Some areas seem to be made of flesh and blood, and the way it seems to breathe will make you very uneasy. The music in this game is droning and will make you feel completely empty. Some areas even incorporate the sounds of a rotting heart beating, and that is enough alone to make my skin crawl. Dotflow probably won't scare you, but it will make you feel very creeped out. It does environmental horror very, very well, and it's a great game to play on a Friday night if you want to see just how brave you are. Dotflow doesn't really have any scares like Yume Nikki did with Uboa and Face and all that, but the entire game gives you a constant eerie feeling. I think out of all the RPG Maker horror games I've ever played, Dotflow is definitely one of my favorites. It recreates the charm and gameplay of Yume Nikki flawlessly while still creating an identity of its own with its own art style, characters, and a story to be told. So is Dotflow better than Yume Nikki? It's hard to say. I wouldn't say it's a better game, even though it does have a lot of little technical improvements over Yume Nikki. It's more or less just a reimagining of the same style of game. Bottom line is, if you like Yume Nikki, you'll like Dotflow. If you like creep-out horror, you'll probably like Dotflow. It's arguably the best Yume Nikki fan game out there. Arguably. Nevertheless, Lawless created his own twisted world with its own story and characters, and he did a fantastic job of it. Like always, I'll link the game and Lawl's website in the description below, so if you think this game looks cool, check it out. Hey guys, and thank you so much for watching. Before I say anything, I want to give mad shoutouts to Insane Asane and Yuliang. I don't know if I said either of those right, but I want to give them mad shoutouts for letting me use their art in this video, and I'll link both of their DeviantArt pages in the description below. Their art is fantastic, and I highly recommend you check it out. Their drawings give off a very similar vibe to the art of Dotflow, which is why I love their work so much, so check that out. Also want to give a huge shout out to Pongo Selvit for letting me use some of his music in this video as well. Thank you guys so much. A long time ago, I also did a video on Yume Nikki, obviously, so if you want to check that out, you can click this video right here. If that's not your trolley, why don't you check out another video I did on a different RPG Maker horror game called Mogeko Castle, and you can watch that by clicking the link right here. So thank you guys so much for watching the whole video. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more Nitro Rad. And as always, thanks for watching, have yourselves a good night, and take care.